Come on, baby. Brew! Brew! Amplified style! Let there be coffee! Hey, how you doing, huh? My amplified unit. Hopefully you guys are up for a bonus BC video. I hope so, because, we're gonna talk about it. Triple H has opened up just within the last half an hour about his health issues and where he goes from here, and you shouldn't be shocked if you watch and listen to BC. We're gonna talk about it. Pete Dunne is talking about his name change to Butch, and Pete Dunne is a classic example of why there's a fine line between trying to say all the right things but actually saying all the wrong things. It looks like Pete Dunne has not learned the lessons from superstars of past that have fallen at the wayside, right to Vince McMahon's feet because they bought into McMahon's rubbish, garbage, trash, bullshit. We're gonna talk Pete Dunne, and he's opening up about how excited he is about his name change. We're gonna talk about it. And we're also going to discuss MJF, how much he loves Bruce Pritchard and how much he loves WWE. In fact, he even proves that he watches faithfully. We're going to go over his words and a huge channel update as we head into WrestleMania week. We got some big news for the channel. We talk all this and a hell of a lot more right now, fully amplified. Oh, you heard that. The Dunkin' Donuts coffee is brewing. In fact, just finished. So BC's gonna get this coffee situated. You guys are gonna go to the opening signature, and then you come right on back. And we're gonna talk about all these topics and more. So there's only one thing left to do in this cold open. Sasha, hit my motherfucking music. Now. Oh, she getting good. She getting good. You got it on point, kid. We're going to talk Pete Dunne in just a little bit, guys. The name change over to Butch. I'd love to tell you it's how he truly feels about it, but I hope these words are not true. I hope he's just being a company guy and giving you what he thinks Vince will want you to say. I hope. We're going to talk about it. MJF, he's being funnier than ever, but he actually says something where you see that he actually does watch the product. MJF is a WWE fan. Who would have thought? And then we talk some channel updates, man. Or what's to come anyway for WrestleMania week. Some big things brewing on the channel. We'll get to all that. Man, I want to open up with Triple H, man. And this is exactly what I told you. He just did an interview with Stephen A. within the last half an hour of the recording of this bonus video. And the rest of the interview will be up with Stephen A. on ESPN Plus later in the day. But this interview was just a portion of it. And he talked a little bit about his future, but BC has already told you well in advance. I've heard from reputable sources, I hate saying that, but reputable people, more than one, who have personally told BC that he's going to be strictly recruitment area now. He might keep the global executive title that he has with WWE, but he's going to be heavily involved with the recruitment. He's always been good with that. We saw that down in NXT, and this is going to be the same. But what he also said about his future is just absolutely shocking. I know you think it shouldn't be, but to hear those words come out of his mouth, shocking. And I'm going to get to that in 1 minute. But first, he started off this portion of the interview with Stephen A. and he talked about his health crisis, because it actually was a crisis, it sounds like. And we were all told that it was a cardiac event caused from a heart defect genetically. Right? That's what we were told. And so BC's like, okay, that happens, right? BC has a heart murmur, for instance. A heart murmur is just something you just basically got to live with your whole life and hope that it doesn't get too fucking bad. Sometimes they even work themselves out. So a lot of us were just like, all right, hopefully it gets better. You know what I mean? Cardiac event, what the fuck? They were being very low key on it. They were not being transparent. Now, on one hand, you totally get it, right? Privacy, especially when it comes to health issues, that's at the forefront. You should always have privacy, especially when it comes to health. That's why there was so much butting of the heads with this whole pandemic the last 2 years. In what records should be known? What should people know about you? Why should you know if I got a certain shot or not? Things like that, man. It's because for a lot of people, health issues, they keep very, very close-chested, very close to them. They don't want to put that out publicly or to their friends or to family, and for justified reasons. So nobody really badgered WWE or the family or friends. We just took it for what it was at face value. Okay, a cardiac event, genetic heart issue. Hopefully he gets better. Listening to Triple H, man, on Stephen A's show, First Take, it basically had nothing to do with that. Not up front. He said he had a viral pneumonia. And it got worse, and it led to fluid in the lungs, and then even fluid in the heart. So that when he got it checked out, he was on his way back home or something, where he had just gotten home. The doc calls him up and says, listen, your next move, don't do anything else, pack your bags, get right back here. And he was told that some type of function that your heart has, something it should be around 60, I think is what he said, something a little higher, 60, 70 maybe. His heart was functioning at like a 30. And by the time he got prepped up, it had dropped to a 27, and it kept dropping. So he said there was many times where he felt or thought, is this it? And he said he's thinking at that time he's got 3 daughters, and he started to tear up in front of Stephen A. during this interview. Again, this was just within the last half an hour, and he was tearing up, and he thought, is this it? And so this sounded a lot worse than any of us were led on to believe. And again, this is why I say privacy is absolute. Everybody deserves that, especially with health issues. But when you're at that stature, that much of a celebrity, next in line to a conglomerate multi-billion-dollar company, in a position that he's in, I think there should be a little more transparency, guys. To let everybody just in on, I mean, what if the dude passed? It sounds from what he's saying that he could have literally passed away from this. And you're just like playing it off like it's little. I understand you don't want to put fear into people, but you could have people helping you out. You see the Big E injury with the neck injury, and you're starting to see it a lot lately when there's an injury in sports or even somebody passes away from something. Doctors are now that have YouTube channels and stuff and podcasts. They're actually talking about what happened, how it could have been prevented, what happens in the future, what should be being done. And what happens is they're starting to collaborate even. So they're getting even better ideas. So what if Triple H was on his fucking deathbed? Only his doctors know what's up, and they're in a conundrum. What if people could have been helping maybe? It's a different day. I'm asking questions. I don't know, guys. I'm not saying everything should be released, right? Privacy is at the forefront when it comes to health especially. But can we be a little bit more transparent? I mean, this is not just a little heart defect that just went a little haywire and he had a cardiac event. I mean, this sounded like it was pretty damn severe, like he could have been put on the shelf, and even for good. I just can't believe how WWE just rested on a cardiac event. It's a genetic heart issue. We'll keep you updated. Just odd. It was really odd, man. You know what I mean? Again, I can't stress this enough. I get privacy. But usually when people don't deliver the actual issue, they at least keep it in the same ballpark, I mean, you could have said this dude came down with a bad pneumonia and it led to a heart. Boom. Okay, now we know there's something more severe. Nobody should be in fear or concerned for the dude's life, but now we know, like, extra prayers for H. No, nothing. They kept it so fucking vague. So then you get everybody just saying that, Triple H is just being dogged out by Vince. For months, this is all we heard. All the changes from Vince McMahon to NXT 2.0, it's just a vendetta against H. Little did you know the dude was half on his fucking deathbed, and Vince McMahon, Stephanie, everybody, his kids, are fucking keeping tabs on this guy every second. No, you see, it's pretty evident what happened now. And Triple H was involved in the original stages of 2.0, by the way. He was in the original meetings, right? The crew told us that. Triple H was involved in the original 2.0 concepts, the meetings that they had, the conferences. He was answering questions. The people that were there said Triple H was on board with everything that Vince was saying. And in fact, he even answered questions. So he was on board with the 2.0 shit. But when you're put on the shelf and there's so many question marks, I don't know what you expected Vince to do. Triple H was the guy that was running it. You take him out of the equation, you think Vince McMahon's going to run it the same? Do you think Shawn Michaels and Road Dogg Jesse James and William Regal were going to run it the same way? And even if they did, do you realize that Vince McMahon was losing money on NXT even when they were doing their best business years and years ago? The Four Horsewomen, the Finn Balor and the Demon, the Kevin Owens and the Sami Zayns. That was the glory days of the NXT when we loved it, right? They were still losing money, guys. Nowadays, they were just losing money and losing in the ratings. Triple H was already getting his ass kicked by Tony Khan. They got to get switched over to Tuesday nights, and then they were still losing in the ratings and getting fucked up. And now with the head guy on the shelf, Vince is like, fuck, all right, I'm just going to fucking listen to Nick Khan, his president of the company, Nick Khan, who came in. And we already knew that their whole idea is to place this, get it ready for a possible sell. Right? They're going to sell the company the second they get a really good offer. So Nick Khan comes in and his whole thing, Vince McMahon wants him to make his entire company sellable. Well, they looked at NXT, which is losing profit every week, not just every month. Every show they're losing money. The ratings are plummeting. And now the head guy is on the shelf for X amount of time. So they were like, okay, we have two options. We can just get rid of NXT and cut it up as a loss because we're losing anyway. Or we could try to make this WWE-esque. So Vince McMahon totally fucking made it a Cartoon Network fest. He had a bunch of elementary schoolers come in, throw crayons out of Shredder, and what popped up is the new NXT 2.0 logo. He put in some fucking colorful characters. He brought in some WWE main roster characters lately on a weekly basis, and the ratings are right there at 600,000 to 700,000 basically for the weeks. So they're pulling no less than Triple H was. But the difference is now it's more sellable. I hope you guys are understanding. I'm taking you guys behind the scenes, behind the curtain. Why decisions were actually being made. I know it seems like he was just a vendetta against H and he was just trying to kick him when he's down. That was never the case. Triple H was always informed of what was going down. Always. We know that because we know he was at the original meetings for 2.0 or in on them. The crew for NXT told us that. And they said he was very up-spirited about it. He was excited about the 2.0 and the possibilities. He was on board with Vince. He was answering questions. That's how we know this. This was never a vendetta. And BC said from the beginning, if Triple H, if this is literally just he's all good and he's just stepping away because he's being done dirty, then it's on Triple H. He lacks the balls, right? I literally said no balls H. If the case is that he's just sitting at home and watching NXT implode without his knowledge, without his input, without his okay. No, that's not the case. Yes, it is true. I don't think he's ever going to step up to Vince McMahon, especially not publicly. In that aspect, that does suck. I do wish he had more balls in the past on like 76 different occasions up front. But this tells you a little bit more that we didn't know. No. There was a lot of fucking question marks because the dude was legit on the shelf. So everybody's just bashing Vince, but the only other alternative was NXT now has to be depleted then. Then there's no more NXT. Well, then you say, well, then good. That would be better than 2.0. Well, first of all, if you ever watch 2.0, it's not that bad. There's actually a lot of episodes that are good, right? I just don't see any other way around this. Vince was either going to have to just cut NXT as a loss because it was a loss, ratings-wise and numbers-wise and financially. It was a loss. But he decided to keep it around. But with the head guy on the shelf, he was going to do it his way. He's got every reason to do such. The numbers weren't backing up. With the head guy gone, and he was already losing numbers and money, so what, you're going to put it in William Regal, Road Dogg Jesse James, and Shawn Michaels' hands? So the head guy's out. They were already losing in the numbers from top to bottom, and now the B team is now going to bring them back to the promised land? Nick Khan and Vince McMahon made a business decision. I'm not going to fucking harp on it, man. It was already a dying brand. Triple H lost control. Triple H, it was clear, didn't know what to do next. And then Triple H had his health crisis. The writing was on the wall, bro. This may be words you don't want to hear. I understand. The writing was on the wall. But it's what Triple H said afterwards when Stephen A asked him, what about the future? Fans want to know about the future. And Triple H literally said, oh, you mean if it's in ring like wrestling, that's done. He said, oh, I'm done. He said, I will never wrestle another match. I am finished. And then he backed that up with evidence when he said, I have a defibrillator in my chest. I didn't even know that was possible. I thought it's a pacemaker that goes in the chest. I thought a defibrillator is what happens when you help somebody from a heart attack or something, but that shows you how not a doctor I am. So I thought only a pacemaker could be put in, but he said a defibrillator. Maybe that is a pacemaker or a type or a version or along the lines. But the point is he's got a gimmick in there, just like Scott Hall had. So he said it wouldn't even be smart or even okayed for me to get in the ring. Vince, in other words, would never allow it. And Scott Hall would always tell stories. He would try to drink or something. He would feel his pacemaker skip beats or just stop or pause. And he'd be like, oh, fuck. I got to remember, this is a machine. This could stop at any time. So Triple H said, I'm done. I'm retired. I will never wrestle again. He said those words. And then he backed it up by informing everybody that now he's got a defibrillator in his chest. That was shocking, man. That was huge. Because you honestly thought, even with the heart condition, that he would wrestle a match every year or every other year. But like Vince McMahon was wrestling at Mania in his 60s. You honestly thought that Triple H, every now and again, would wrestle a match, right? Even in his 60s, he'd somehow be in good shape, like Vince was. And he'd do something, even if it's not taking bumps, but he's kicking and punching and giving the illusion like he's having a match. Go in there, throw a couple punches, a pedigree, and everybody's happy after 60 seconds. No, this sounds like he is fucking done. And again, what BC told you. Now, I haven't been able to hear the rest of the interview because that's going to be put up on ESPN Plus later in the day with Stephen A. But I've already been told he is going to be heavily in the recruitment process and working heavily with NXT 2.0. So that goes to show you again, he has been okaying and been okay with all the decisions being made with Vince. May have been hard for him? Maybe, yeah. I mean, you're watching your baby get turned into something different, no question. But he's working with them. Either that or he's so fucking upset with it and he's still going to be right by Vince McMahon anyways. In that case, that's no balls Levesque. Don't worry about the fucking heart. That's no balls. Because it doesn't matter what happens to you medically. If you are truly that pissed off that somebody did you that dirty, right? If this was a real vendetta, wouldn't you have the fucking... But this was a heart condition, not a balls condition. Wouldn't you find your balls and stand up and say, dude, I just had this life event happen. I'm out of here. While this is happening to me, you fucked me over on my brand? No. It's obvious H was in on this the whole time. He might be a little off by it. He might be a little bummed out. That's the word we got, right? 2 months ago. Wade Keller, I think it was, said that he's hearing that Triple H was a little bummed out. And it's probably because, he couldn't stay in that role, stay healthy, and keep rocking the NXT that we were used to back in the day. And, he probably knows he was getting his ass kicked by Tony Khan in AEW. He opened his mouth and called it a pissant t-shirt company. He thought that he could just one-up them and totally annihilate them. He probably told Vince, don't worry, I got this. And Tony Khan sent a fucking keg of whoop-ass every single Wednesday night until he booted him to Tuesday nights. And even on Tuesday night, Triple H couldn't find that ground. And by then, Vince McMahon was probably like, dude, I have to do something. I'm losing money. We're losing numbers. I have to do something. And then all of a sudden, he loses Triple H. And I'm telling you right now, if you think Shawn Michaels, William Regal, and Road Dogg, Jesse James, if you think they were going to equal a Triple H's vision, it's never going to happen. When Walt Disney passed away, right, his vision of Walt Disney World, that went to the conglomerate publicly traded company, right, that you see today. Everything you see today for Disney is all for the fucking bottom dollar, man. Greedy, get every fucking penny. That was not Walt's vision. But when you remove the head honcho, it doesn't matter how many people are below him. Even his brother Roy Disney, who tried to keep that vision alive, it was never the same. It's the same thing with H. If you take the person who created this type of vision or had this vision and put it to work, and you take him out of the equation, then you're never going to have that same feel anyway. So if the numbers were dropping, right? Let me put it to you simpler. If the numbers were dropping, the finances were never there anyway, with Triple H in charge. Now you take Triple H out of the equation, you think it's just going to get better? No, and that's why I say, man, it's not like I'm sticking up for McMahon or especially Nick Khan. But if you're looking to sell the company anyway, you have this fucking anchor, because that's what NXT was to Vince. It was an anchor. It was holding them down, actually. I just gave you many reasons of how it was holding them down. Of course, we loved it back in the day, but it was holding a company as a whole down when you're talking business. And if Vince brought in Nick Khan to make all these decisions and cuts and releases and changes for a possible sale of the company, then of course they were going to look at NXT, especially when the head guy just got fucking medically put on the shelf. That's a little bit of panic mode. So this is proof, man. This was never about a vendetta. This is proof that BC told you all along he's going to be in the recruitment stages. He'll work hand in hand with NXT. Even if he tries to tell you he's not, right? Oh, no. I'm going to let NXT be its own thing now. I'm going to leave it alone. It's impossible. If he's one of the head honchos in recruitment, we already know he is with the NIL program, and there's another program where he's fucking already into, then that's going to work hand in hand with some youngsters that are all going to NXT. Come on, man. Use your fucking head. No matter what he tries to tell you, the evidence is what is actually happening. Right? Sometimes it's not just what somebody's saying, it's what they're actually doing. So, I mean, we wish to do nothing but the bay. He looked good. He looked like he's got his fucking muscle back. He looked like Triple H. And I'm sure that's why he waited extra time, so he could look the part. Maybe he took extra time off because there were so many people thinking this was a vendetta, and that is, why isn't he doing anything? He's seeing everybody crumble, you know what I mean? And maybe he took fucking extra time too to kind of settle the waters, right? That's been heavily speculated. Which again, if he was so disgruntled about 2.0, you would think he would stand up and say something about William Regal taking off or Road Dogg. I don't know, man. There's so much we don't know about the situation. But anyway, guys, that's the latest. We're going to find out more. Things will be changed up, I'm sure, but Triple H is opening up finally. It was a lot more severe than any of us thought. His future is it's shocking. He will never wrestle again. He's got a gimmick in his chest to tell you that. Absolutely shocking news, man. Let me move on to Pete Dunne, man. I got to talk Pete Dunne, and I hope I can get this up. Pete Dunne talking about he's opening up too, and this is about his name change to Butch. And I want to get the actual verbatim for you, because this is something you gotta hear, bro. Now, there's trying to say all the right things, and then there's just saying all the wrong things, right? Like there's being a company guy, and then there's just shilling out. And I feel like Pete Dunne, if he truly believes these words, then he has not learned from people before him. Listen to this shit, man. This is on his name change to Butch. This is Pete Dunne. He says the following, and this is a quote. Pete Dunne says, "It's exciting. It's also a little bit, it's just different. I think it's time to change it up a little bit. Like I said, 5 years, fresh start. Why not try something a little new? The thing is with me, whether it's a name change or whatever it is that changes, that's not really what endeared me to the audience in the first place, right? I like to think it anyway, it's the quality of the in-ring work. And that's what I'm going to keep the same. Of course, it's going to get better. It's going to improve as time goes on. So that's the sort of my perspective on it. If I can endear the crowd with the quality of my in-ring work, that's what I'm going to continue to do." Now, Can I just break down that first paragraph, man? It's exciting, he says. What is exciting about going from a believable, realistic badass ass kicker the second you walk through the curtain? People are like, oh fuck, this guy could give Brock Lesnar a fight. To going into fucking Butch, who we all know. Butch is a kid selling hot dogs in the 1920s. I mean, you flip him a quarter in the 1920s, he gives you a couple 2-tree hot dogs. That's Butch. So right off the jump, it's about the perception of the character. He says it's exciting. He says it's different. But he said, I think it's time to change. He says, I think it's time to change. So he's taking all of the pressure off of Vince. All of the blame. And he's saying, I think it's time for a change. He says, it's been 5 years. Why not a fresh start? How about because what you had was working? You're not that big of a dude. You're pretty average at first glance. Easily, people could call you just another wrestler because you're somebody with skill, with a pretty above average ground and pound game. We get it. But you could be looked at easily at first glance, first perception. You could be looked at as average. But yet somehow, Pete Dunne, you vibed, you connected with the audience. People liked you more than the average. You were succeeding. So why the change? That's what we're asking. You say why not the change? We're saying why the change? Because of VKM. But you're taking the blame off of him and you're saying you felt it was time for a change. This is so weird to BC. He goes on to say the thing with me is whether it's a name change or whatever it is, that's not what endeared me to the audience. He says it's the quality of the in-ring work. That's what I'm going to keep the same. And it's going to get better. He says it's going to improve as time goes on. So that's the perspective I have on it. I can endear the crowd with the quality of my in-ring work. Pete Dunne's got jokes, bro. Butch's got jokes. I think Butch has been hanging around with Madcap Moss. This dude honestly thinks that it doesn't matter about the name or the appearance. The in-ring work is going to captivate his audience. Bro, have you not learned from the Bearcat? What happened to Keith Lee, your buddy? The Bearcat was named the Bearcat and a month later never seen again. Till he showed up in AEW and he's barely seen there, by the way. Have you not learned from Bearcat? You give somebody that type of name and bro, he's Keith Lee. He's limitless. That's what connected. The name connected. You say appearance. Did you forget about your buddy Karrion Kross? The guy comes out in his fucking OnlyFans suspenders and his medieval times helmet. And he's not seen again 2 months later. Because fans laughed at that. It was pathetic. That's not a change that was needed. It was a change that's embarrassing. So obviously you wonder why the crowd didn't connect with it. Why it didn't connect with the crowd. It's obviously he did not learn from Doudrop. Piper Niven worked. We didn't mind saying, hey, Piper Niven, here she comes. She's going to be badass. But when you say, here comes Doudrop, it's not the same, bro. And that's why Doudrop is irrelevant. But Pete Dunne didn't learn from Doudrop. Pete Dunne didn't learn from T-Bar. Dominic Dijakovic was getting rave reviews. We love Dominic Dijakovic. T-Bar? It's a laughing stock. He's being laughed out of every arena he wrestles in. If he even does anymore, wherever he is. Did you not learn from Mace? Or how about Slap Tits, Slap Nuts? Slap Dicks, whatever the fuck his name was. Slapjack? A name means so much. You gotta learn from Big Daddy Cool Diesel, man. If it wasn't for the believability in Kevin Nash in the fact that he had to work 10 times as hard to get that gimmick over, and he was as tall as he was, as big as he was, and he was giving good storylines, that's the only reason he semi-made Diesel work. To this day, people make fun of the name Diesel. CM Punk. Remember when Kevin Nash came back and CM Punk made all those references to Diesel making fun of him? Remember The Rock making fun of Diesel? Choo-choo! Big Daddy Cool Diesel! Choo-choo! The Rock did it much better. The Rock making fun of everybody. Kevin Nash makes fun of the gimmick Diesel. But he's always respected the fact that Vince gave him a stage and that he had a chance to perform and have that platform. But he had to bust his ass to be fucking Diesel, man. He couldn't wait to shed that name. But there aren't so many Diesels out there, bro, that can make that work. You know, did you honestly think Isaac Yankem DDS was going to reach fucking epic proportions? You bring in Kane, that's believable. You look at the appearance, you look at his size, you look at the first feud that he's in with his brother Undertaker. Okay, you look at the meaning of Kane, right? The name Kane and what it stands for in a lot of people's fucking vision. You can Google all that shit. It makes sense. My point, who is this guy trying to, I understand trying to say all the right things because you're trying to be a company guy, but you don't got to let Vince totally off the hook. You don't got to say it was your idea. You don't got to say that, and bro, if he honestly thinks that his in-ring work is what's going to captivate, bro, do you think a lot of those wrestlers I just named weren't talented? They were. But Vince doesn't give a fuck how many flips and dives you can do. He's going to give you fucking 2 to 3 minute matches, and he's going to give them to you as Butch. Good luck, buddy. This dude honestly thinks his in-ring work is going to be what is going to make everything okay. Bro, you're going to be out of the company probably within the next 3 to 4 months. And you're going to be back selling fucking hot dogs, wishing it was the 1920s. Unreal, man. When asked how he learned or when he learned about the name change, Dunne says, I kind of had an idea of the fact that my NXT time might be coming to an end for a few weeks. But in terms of the call up to SmackDown and everything that came with it, it was really fast. It would have been the day before I was traveling, pretty much starting to find bits and pieces out. But yeah, I've known for a while that, oh, really, since the change in NXT, I've known that, okay, I'm probably going to the end of my spell in NXT. Especially in the last month or so, things have really amped up. So you start hearing things that kind of stuff. But WrestleMania season, that adds to it. Oh, what a great time to be called up. I'm now in the mix. He's truly excited. He's truly excited to be fucking in the mix. Motherfucker, I'd rather be Pete Dunne in NXT, NXT UK, NXT fucking Mexico, NXT Argentina, wherever there's an NXT, I'd rather be planted there than Butch already in non-relevancy. You know, it's one of those things, man. It's one of those things. You know he's being a company guy. You know he's trying to have the best outlook. You don't expect him to come out here as a company guy and totally just shit on the name, right? Because then it's just shitting on himself. If you're not going to believe it, then nobody else is going to, right? But there's way to do some PC-type answers, right? There's way to do damage control, because that's what this is. It's damage. You're fucking... The name damaged you, bro. You went from Pete Dunne, a legit, realistic badass, to a dude straight out of a fucking hot dog cart from the 20s. Fucking Butch. So it's damage control, and there's ways to go about it where you just say, hey, you know, this is where we're at. I'm going to make the best out of it. I'm going to make people, by the end of the year, I'm going to make Butch a household name that you honestly would believe could take out Brock Lesnar on any given day. I'm going to make you a believer. Butch is going to be a whole nother side that Pete Dunne couldn't and never have been, right? Build to that, right? If you're going to blow smoke up people's asses, let's bring some amplification to it. Bring some story to it. Why should we get behind Butch? But if that's your reasoning why we should get behind Butch, because you're going to show in your in-ring work that you've always been doing, you're going to bring the same thing. In fact, you'll even improve it. So that's what's going to captivate your audience. No, Butch better be a motherfucking a Lesnar slayer. A beast slayer. Step over, Rollins. Step aside. That's the only way Butch is going to get over, guys. If Vince McMahon gave him the utmost in wrestling booking. Booking we have not seen in years. He's got to get Hulk Hogan booking. He's got to get Stone Cold booking. He's got to get Roman Reigns booking, I should say. We have seen it in years. One dude, Roman. Even Brock Lesnar hasn't gotten Roman booking. I mean, but for Butch to get over, that's what it's going to take, guys. That's not shade. We love Pete Dunne. But the name means a lot. It does. And I understand being a company guy and trying to give a PC answer, but he could have handled this much better. To say you're excited, to say that it's okay because I'm still going to have the in-ring work, and in WWE's main roster, that's all that matters. It's not. If that's the case, Ricochet would have been a 7-time world champion, bro. Shinsuke would have held multiple fucking titles. Sami Zayn would have held multiple world titles and not just being a jackass taking on a jackass at WrestleMania. And you can go down the fucking line. Ember Moon would still have a job. Keith Lee would still be in the E with a job. Mickie James would have never been fucking pushed to the wayside. Asuka would have been a fucking 16-time champion and not Charlotte, or 14 times. It's not just about your fucking talent in the ring, bro. Vince has to believe in you, and when he gives you the name Butch, that's already telling you something. Anyway, we got to move on, guys. That's the Pete Dunne talk. Couldn't believe that, man. MJF, let's go to that, man. I also want to do more verbatim with MJF, if you don't mind. Let me try to get this up on Maxwell Jacob Freeman, because this was great. This is a quote from MJF. Now, we know for a year now, he's been pumping up, possibly working for WWE when his contract runs out, 2024, I believe. And he talks always about how he loves WWE, and this is what he says, man. I love this. This is a quote from MJF. This was recently with Ariel Helwani. Or Helwani? How do you want to pronounce it? This is a quote from MJF. I didn't get into this business to hit moves. And this kind of runs, by the way, right off of Pete Dunne, right? Who thinks it's all about the in-ring. MJF is the total opposite. MJF gets it. MJF says, I didn't get into this business to hit moves. I got into this business to make money. That's why I got into this business. So that's why I'm not afraid to talk about when my contract is up, January 1st, 2024. And I'm not afraid to stir the pot because it's a constant reminder of Tony Khan. Okay, I need to step my game up. And it's a constant reminder for WWE, who has extreme interest in me. Okay, we're going to need to make him a serious offer that he can't refuse. He goes on to say, Bruce and me, meaning Bruce Pritchard, and I love this. He brings up Bruce a lot because the internet wrestling community, the IWC, loves to bring up Bruce every time WWE completely sucks. Now, usually like their Raw show, for instance, is absolutely a shit show. But every time there's something bad, it's Bruce's fault. Nobody wants to place the blame directly where it's coming from, which is Vince McMahon. Even when Bruce was under the weather and on vacation, there was a whole month where Bruce Pritchard was pushed to the wayside and Raw was at its worst. But Bruce Pritchard still got blamed for all those shows, even though it was even reported that everything was through Vince. Even the writers were told, get the fuck out of the way. But we still blame Bruce Pritchard for everything. So I love how he always brings that up because he knows that's going to be the headline. He knows that's going to connect. So MJF says, Bruce and me, and this is a shoot, Bruce Pritchard and me go way back when he was in MLW. He was one of the lead producers there, and he would watch me do promos, and he was floored by me, absolutely enamored by me. I was the prettiest girl at the ball. I love Bruce. I think Bruce is a hell of a guy and has a hell of a mind. Got to remember, guys, Bruce Pritchard was the mastermind. I know not the founder of the creation itself of The Undertaker, but a lot of what you saw, the vignettes, the promos, the in the cemetery, and all of that type of stuff, that was hand in hand with Bruce Pritchard. A lot of Wyatt shit too, which is funny because I think there's an issue between Bray Wyatt and Bruce Pritchard now, but Bruce Pritchard had a lot into the whole Bray Wyatt shit as well. So that's what he means, man. There's a lot of shit that Bruce Pritchard did that connected, and that was actually good. So he says he's got a brilliant mind. I think he produces incredible television, he says. So yes, I've talked to Bruce multiple times, and as far as have I been reached out to by WWE, legally it's not smart for me to answer that question. But what I can say emphatically is there's an absurd amount of interest in me. Tony Khan knows that. Tony Khan claims he's not afraid of that, and that's good. So I hope you're not afraid to spend a lot of fucking money come 24. I love it. He says that's what, this was, when he says if he's surprised about Cody Rhodes coming to WWE, he says, no, that's what professional wrestling is. This is pro sports. We move around. That's just the nature of the beast. I love that shit. And then he goes on and he also says that he watches the product. I love this, man. MJF, by the way, he claims he is not signing shit before his contract expires. That tells you he's saying, at least storyline-wise, he is not going to re-sign. He's going to allow WWE to talk to him first, legally. I fucking love that, dude. He says, and I quote, I'm not signing shit. I'm not signing shit twice. No shot. That is not something I'd even consider unless the number was absolutely astronomical. But even then, I'm not sure I'd consider re-signing. Helwani followed that up and said, what amount of money would it take? He says, MJF says, that's not something I'm willing to discuss, but I'm sure if you see what the top guys in our industry make, that's cool, but I want to make more than that. So he's talking like Roman Reigns, who makes $3 million. Is he talking that type of money? Who knows? MJF, you guys know how high I am on MJF. I think he's one of the brightest stars in the industry. Just what he can do on a microphone, how he could take a storyline and put it on his back. And then in the ring, he can go as well and hold his own. He's basically a complete package. And he's only getting better by the week, I feel. So, I mean, who knows what he's going to be by 2024? He might be worth that fucking money. But I want to get to the part, man. I hope I can find this, man. Where he admits he loves WWE programming. Oh, I got it, man. Hold on. Let me just try to find this. I gotta find the right part. He says, and I quote about WWE, I think WWE is doing great. I love everything WWE is doing. I just think we are fresh and we have fresh faces that people haven't seen before. I think right now, everything that Vince and Bruce Pritchard are putting out there is absolutely incredible. I love how he brings Bruce in there because he knows he's poking at all the interweb dweebs that think that Bruce is just like on equal footing as Vince. I love it. They're putting out there. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. I love NXT 2.0. I love Raw. I love SmackDown. I love what Roman's doing. I think Roman's putting out some of the greatest work ever. Paul Heyman, a fellow member of the tribe, he's absolutely killing it. Sorry about what's going on with Brock, by the way, he says to Paul. Sorry about what's going on with Brock. You deserve better than that. So he's telling you he's watching the show. He's actually watching the storylines, bro. Because he threw a nod over to Paul. Sorry, you deserve better than that with what's going on with Brock. I think they're putting out a great product. I think the big difference, quite frankly, is that AEW has MJF. That's the biggest difference maker you could possibly have. Whoa, man. Now I know you're saying, BC, this is all story, man. Relax. He's in character. No doubt. He's always in character. That's why I love MJF. You go on his social, you're not going to get any fucking sugar-coated shit. This is going to be the MJF, man. He's going to make sure there's no blurred lines. The asshole on TV, that's the asshole you're going to get when you go get a autograph signed or a picture taken with him. He's going to call you an asshole and make it fast. That's why I love MJF. He's the last of a breed that we still should have. We don't have that anymore in pro wrestling. Everybody's going on social and totally breaking character. You can't get behind that type of shit. So I love that, man, what MJF is doing. And I honestly do think there's a lot of reality in what he is saying, though. It's clear that he actually does follow along with WWE, just by his words alone. But I also believe that there is belief in his dome piece that he's good enough to hear offers from WWE when his contract expires. I think there's a lot of belief in that. And I think there is those connections with WWE, and he just takes all that reality and he puts it into his own story. So people don't know if the lines are totally blurred. So people are like, oh, he's definitely signing with AEW. He's a lifer. He's never going to go. He's just fucking with you guys. Maybe. Maybe not. And I want to end it, guys, with a little bit of a channel update, if you will. The BC Amplified channel. What's happening for Mania week? I am not going to Mania. There was a chance, actually, man, that I was going to be over in, what is Dallas? Down in Texas. But that's not going to happen. I do have things that I need to be tied up around here. But we got a big week ahead. The channel update is this, guys. Starting tonight. That's right, tonight. And probably by the time I get this up in a few hours, a live reaction. The whole 2 hours of SmackDown. It's the go home. No, it's not. It's the go home show to the go home. It's the go home show to WrestleMania week anyway. There is still one more SmackDown next week. But this is the last show before we start Mania week, which is this weekend, man. Sunday, you could even say Saturday. So this is it. So I want to start it off with a big bang. I'm going to go live tonight for SmackDown Live reaction. All 2 hours of it, guys. So be prepared to that if you want to. Alternative commentary, or just have BC on while you're listening to Michael Cole. And if you start seeing me go batshit crazy, plug in your earphones real quick and listen to me, because I'm probably ranting about something. So tonight we're going to start off WrestleMania week. We're starting off early, 2 hours live for SmackDown. So that's going to be a pretty special way to start off WrestleMania week. And then every day going forward, starting tomorrow, at any time on the channel, we're going to have a shit ton of impromptu videos. They could be 2 minutes long, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, but any story that is breaking, BC will have a breaking news type of approach. So you might get 4 or 5 videos in a day. Maybe you'll get 1 or 2. It depends on the news cycle. But usually for Mania week, a lot of shit is being thrown at us. So why wait to just do a 45-hour-long video if I get the chance? Why not just wherever I am in the world, even if it's audio format only? Why not give you guys the breaking news as it's happening and my thoughts in real time? So there could be a lot of content coming at you this upcoming week. And here's where it gets really good. Saturday, next Saturday, WrestleMania Day 1. NXT is putting on a show earlier in the day. Saturday, 12 noon Eastern Time. We are going to be live. A live reaction of NXT Stand and Deliver, I believe is what it is being called. BC is going to be live with you guys. Then we're going to go off the air when NXT goes off the air, their pay-per-view, special event. Then, a few hours later, BC will be live with you guys yet again for WrestleMania Night 1. A live reaction of the entire show, just like we did with the Royal Rumble. So we're going to have a double-decker live reaction, NXT and WrestleMania Night 1 on next Saturday. It's going to be massive. Then, Night 2 will be on Sunday night. On Monday morning, we will be live with a Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So that will not be Sunday night, Night 2. We won't be live for a reaction. But the next morning, we will go live with the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Night 2. And then, that night, the Raw after Mania, we will be live for the first hour of Raw. So that'll be hours after the live live Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Night 2. I hope you guys are keeping track. Basically, what I'm telling you is there is a lot of content coming up. A lot of live streams, which you guys have been clamoring for more of. I'm talking live reactions of entire events, and it starts tonight with SmackDown. So be on the lookout if you guys want to hang later tonight, man. And, of course, going forward. So be on the lookout, man. It's going to be a huge week. We're going to do it bigger than anybody else in the community for WrestleMania week. We're going to do it amplified style. Much love and respect, guys. I'm going to pound the rest of this, and then I got to head out into the world, man. First stop will be an actual Starbucks. One coffee to another. So thank you guys, man. And again, to Triple H confirming he will never wrestle again. Damn, bro. That's big news. You know, we always thought he'd wrestle a match here and there. You know, you never know when somebody's last match is. It sucks. And Pete Dunne just giving us a laugh. MJF as well, man, giving us insight on his future and the channel update. It's been one hell of a bonus video. From the Ant-Man himself, I'm out. I'm saying check you. But come right back tonight, man, when business is cleared out, when we got a fresh pot of fucking coffee brewing. Come back tonight and we'll do SmackDown Live together. For now, Sasha knows what she's got to do. She's got to hit my motherfucking... right now. There it is. Yeah.